Hello, and welcome back to the Cosmic Alignment Lab podcast by the Cosmic Touch community for neurodivergent, intuitive, and empathic individuals who identify as entrepreneurs, generalists, HSPs, and the list kind of goes on. And we're building a movement to make heart centered and energy healing led personal and professional growth mainstream. I'm your host Ishita. I'm a Reiki master teacher. I'm a business consultant and a community builder. And in this space, we invite thought leaders, visionaries, change makers to share tools, stories, and insights that empower your journey. And our signature, the Cosmic Touch membership, is now open for new members. So without further ado, I want to invite today and introduce you to Riya Loveguard. Ria is a quantum business strategist working with leaders and conscious entrepreneurs. She integrates quantum energetics, light language, and frequency based tools into business strategy. She's known as the galactic linguist, and she translates multidimensional frequencies into real world growth, impact, and wealth. So, welcome, Ria.
Thank you so much for the invite. It's a pleasure to be here. I feel like I'm in the right space because the community you're building around the Cosmic Touch is exactly the kind of people I'm here to serve. So here we are.
Love it. I love it when these kind of, synchronicities happen and we meet like the right people. Amazing. So let's get into it, Ria. Please tell us about your personal transformation journey. What led you to this path?
Business led me to the spiritual development. I've always been in business, literally straight after university. I never took a job. I met my husband when I was graduating from law and sociology. I was in the last year of my studies. And my husband was an entrepreneur and he converted me to the world of entrepreneurship. It's like, why don't you just do something together? And so I never really went into the world of employment. With my naive 25-year-old kind of enthusiasm, I dived right into the world of entrepreneurship. Had many different businesses, mostly centering around real estate, and kind of started those businesses just without much thought of what's in alignment, what to do, until when I was in my early 30s, I got myself into such a twist that I was stressed up to my eyeballs. I had multiple businesses. I had an online business, I had an offline business, and I was like crumbling under pressure. It was to a point where certain things were going great, certain things were going terrible. There was always like fires to be extinguished. There's always problems with employees, problems with cash flow. And that's how I discovered meditation. I had a business partner at the time, we're still great friends, who was quite awakened, and she was like nudging me towards all these tools to kind of bring my stress levels down. And that created an opening for my soul family, the Arcturians, to come knocking in, because I was quite religious at the time, and unfortunately the mainstream religion wasn't providing me with the answers and the solutions I was seeking, but I was looking in the only place I could. But starting a meditative practice, opening myself to be a little bit more open-minded about the world of energetics, created this opening where my soul family could come knocking in. And that's how I, for the first time, received messages and contact with Arcturians. Now, my light language, which is what I mostly do now, that has been awakened since I was in my early 20s. Like I was 20 or 21 when it activated. So I already had it, but it was something that I didn't even connect to how transformative it was, etc. So it was only when my soul family started knocking in 2019, preparing me for what's to come. Because in 2020, my business just literally collapsed like a house of cards. with
Yeah.
COVID, with leverage, with bad decisions, bad
Yeah.
alignments. It had to
Tower
go.
moment. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't pleasant. We lost a lot of money. We lost a lot of trust from many people. It was just quite a traumatic event. But that sent me deeper into the rabbit hole of beyond just meditating, beyond just connecting to extraterrestrials, and into actually, how did I get myself in this hole? How did I become from this enthusiasm and from this kind of like love for business? How did I make so many bad decisions? And how did I
Yeah.
lost literally everything? Because we've lost all our investments. We just kind of started from below zero. And basically at that time I was asking myself these questions. And that's
Yeah.
how I came across the tools that I'm using today for myself, for other entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
It started with not wanting to repeat the same mistakes and wanting to build something that's going to be not just long lasting but also satisfying on the soul, because very often as entrepreneurs we get, or sometimes in careers it's the same, it's just like we stop having fun with what we actually
Exactly.
doing, and that's as bad as not having, like, not making money in business is bad, but not having fun is also quite bad.
Yeah, like not having that playtime and the inner child, like giving her space to kind of enjoy the things that you're creating, right? Super important. Love that. Yeah. And what I think, your journey sounds very like typical of star seeds, like, we're all a little bit all over the place, not following the conventional rules, doing our own thing, paving our own pathways, leading spaces where no one has probably ever even led, at least not in our environment, and creating something out of nothing, like it's really really commendable what you've done, and I think everything that you shared would resonate very very strongly with anyone who resonates as a star seed, as someone who's intuitive, as someone who's always felt a little bit like, oh, the mainstream media is not for me, this doesn't really talk to me as much. So I really really love your story.
I feel like basically very often this kind of like crash that happens sometimes in relationships, sometimes in career, sometimes in health as well, is what actually brings us to what we meant to do in the first place. If we weren't conditioned by, like you say, by the mainstream, possibly, I could have been working with light language since I was 21, but no, of course, that wasn't the pathway. Business was already unconventional. I could have just, graduated, started a career in law or as some kind of researcher at university, because that was the things that were available for me. So business was already unorthodox, but I couldn't have fathomed working with the metaphysics and with the invisible. That's not even, maybe today is a little bit different. People are a bit more open-minded, and like you said in the introduction, it's about bringing this to mainstream. But back when I was graduating, it wasn't even on the horizon.
Wow, things have really changed, no? And I think what you also said about, having like that tower moment where something in your life just falls apart and you really like have the opportunity to question yourself, to ask what within me created this? Like, why was I on this path in the first place? And from there, like, it's a very subtle switch that happens, which is again our choice, like you can choose to move forward in like a soul aligned way, or you continue to give in to the conditioning and, oh, my parents said I should do this, or this friend is doing that, and you just squish that little, voice of the soul down, which
Yeah.
is, oof, I hope everyone can take, the risk and have the courage to take that soul's voice forward in those
Absolutely.
moments.
There's one question that you can ask yourself in a moment like that. And it depends on the tone, and how you ask yourself the same question will determine the outcome. The question is, why did this happen to me? If you ask it with an open heart, why did this happen to me? What was the reasons? There's energetic reasons, there's ancestral patterns, there's karmic patterns, there's a whole heap of reasons. Once you uncover them one by one, and dissolve these patterns and these programs that didn't serve us, you're up on a win. But if you start asking yourself like a victim, why did this happen to me? Or why does it always happen to me? You're not really listening to the answers. But if you do ask this question with an open mind, you will discover the actual real reasons.
I couldn't agree more. It's the curiosity mindset versus, the victim mindset, where you take everything as an opportunity, as a launching pad to become a better version of yourself rather than stay stuck.
Absolutely.
Totally agree. And I think that brings me to the next question. Ria, tell me more about quantum business and all the work that you do. Like, can you share a little bit about what exactly it is that you do?
Okay, so let's start with a little fun principle that I've discovered, which I didn't know. No, I also after my business failure, I also took an MBA course. Nobody teaches that in business school. It's not. It's just something I've discovered, and you come and experiment and find it. Whether that's true to you, but from my experience working with entrepreneurs, working on my own business, every business has an energy field. Just like a human being has an energy field, auric field, so does the business. Business is a conscious creation. And as such, it brings a lot of very cool implications. Because just as we can work on our energy field or our physical body with energy, we can upgrade ourselves, we can cleanse certain things, we can also work with energy of our business as a living creation. We can work with energy of money. We can work with all energy of source, energy of Gaia for our business. We can bring it upgrades. We can channel light language. We can bring protection around, for example, because things happen. You can be attacked by a competitor, so you need protection. So you could be sending beautiful frequency of resonance out of the business field that is like a beacon to your clients. So my work with quantum side of business, apart from all the strategy, because I for all my failures with offline businesses, I've had a great track record on online businesses since 2017. That's always been really kind of social media, all of that. That's always been easy. That's always been fun. That's always been pleasure. But that's the kind of more down-to-earth side of things. My whole joy is how to work energetically with the energy field of the business owner and the energy field of the business, just to optimize it so that a lot of things just happen from that state of flow. So it's not that kind of push, because a lot of business work almost feels like a push. Like everything is just like forcing outcomes. That is
Very
the outdated
masculine.
paradigm. Very masculine, very much, that's like the bygone era. And I think that, of course, it's not just about sitting in a circle and kind of, I don't know, singing or channeling. You still have to show up. You still have to have some kind of interactions with your clients. But things just happen in this more aligned way and in an easy way. I don't know, your video goes viral and all of a sudden, just opportunities open, things like that.
Totally. That's beautiful, Ria. And I love how you said that the business itself also has another energy field of its own. Like something that's inanimate, intangible, for instance, like an online business, it has its own energy field. And so do physical businesses, manufacturing, whatever. And that's why, sometimes we're more drawn to certain brands and not so, drawn to others, even if it's luxury brands for that matter. Like just today I was thinking about how like Lancome is like a really my vibe kind of brand, and then, there were other products which I had and I was like, nah, I'm not resonating. So I love that you said that, and it's something that, I've also noticed, and in fact I've done Reiki sessions for business alignment where I work directly with the energy of the business to guide the people who are doing the work within on what to be done next. So
Absolutely.
it's really, really interesting how you said that. And I do have a follow-up question for you. What is the difference between the energy field of the founder of the business and then the actual business itself? How do you distinguish between those?
Very interesting. There's also very interesting interaction between those fields. And there is three types of situations I've come across in my experience. Two that slow either personal or business growth, and one that is optimal. So let me explain. So I actually recently interviewed an astrologer for my podcast, and she said that businesses also have their birth charts because a business is kind of founded on a particular date. And you can take the date when it goes to the market or when you register a company. Either way, business becomes its own thing because, yes, as a founder, as the owner, you give it your energy. It's initially your idea. However, once you start having clients, once you start having maybe employees or freelancers, when there's other people, this business becomes its own thing. It evolves in its own way. That's why it's got its own energy field. You don't 100%, you can control certain aspects of business, but it's almost like you will find that it's got its own feel, its own brand, like we would say. And when you
like
start working with its own consciousness, when you start working with different businesses, you even see them represented in the quantum field as different, sometimes symbols, sometimes the energy field takes a particular shape. I've worked with quite a few estate agents due to my previous background, so I usually seen their businesses represented as a house, and it's quite normal given what they do. Whereas I remember once working with a multidimensional medium, and her whole business was like a constellation of planets moving around. So it's quite fascinating. Sometimes it's just like a ball of light. But now the interesting thing about this distinction between the energy field of the founder or the owner and the energy field of the business is that very often it gets quite mixed up. The most common situation, the most common scenario for startups, for young businesses, and especially for personal brands, is when almost there is no distinction between those energy fields. And the field of the business is inside the field of the owner. So the owner controls it all. It doesn't separate. Yeah. And what happens then? The business got no room to grow. Classical situation is it gives the person just enough money to survive, but not to thrive. Maybe just the basics. So what you need to do in this situation, you need to kind of push this business field out to just the same way as human beings in our mother's womb, we can only grow so much.
Exactly.
For a human to develop into adult, it has to come out of the mom's belly in order to grow. Same with a business.
Wow.
Yeah.
Please go on.
So that's the first situation, very common with startups. Now, the second situation, this is more of a case with very established businesses and businesses that developed systems that, a little bit like what my offline business was, when the business becomes almost like a cage around the owner, where the business's field encompasses the owner. And then there's the other way around, where it just feels stifling. It feels just like, okay, the business may be bringing income, but it also feels like it's burning you out, like you've got too much, like you're oppressed by it, in which situation you have to come out of the business field. And I've had clients that I work with where I had to guide them through this process so that the business doesn't feel like a box they're in. Right. And the ideal scenario is that you have a symbiotic relationship, two separate energy fields, but connected, usually through the heart, but it could be through all the other kind of energy centers. It needs to be a connection, just like a connection between business partners or between friends, or you can think it about a connection between a grown-up child and the parent, which is still like or in an ideal world, it would be a loving relationship, but each one has their own space.
Wow, that's beautiful. The distinction between within, like the business being within the owner, a cage for the owner, and then actually almost like a launching pad for the owner, like a friendship for the owner.
Yeah,
I
and this
think
is this is not
that's,
something I kind of like. I didn't come up with the theories through, I don't know, reading it. I just noticed that when I was working with
right.
clients. That was just how it's been. So it's very important to consciously check, where are you? Where is your business in the field? You can visualize it, you can just feel it, but you will know. The most classical example is that first one, where like
Yes.
the business is I. We kind of we control it. We don't give it room to grow, especially with personal brands. So, simple way: push it out of your field, like it's as if you're giving it an energetic birth.
I love that. I think that's so beautiful. Like visually, I can see it of it's like almost like a relationship, and it's like, are you super attached to the relationship, or is the relationship like controlling you? Or is it like a mutual space for you to grow with,
You
right?
know what? We're
And
touching on a very important aspect. Very often, the relationship between the founder and the business mirrors the relationship with either the significant other, romantically, or with the partner, or with a parent, or with like an important figure. So or it could be ex-partner as well, sadly. So it creates all
yeah.
sorts of distortions. People who are non-committal in personal relationships often treat their businesses with a lack of
Right.
commitment.
Yeah.
People sometimes, and I see this especially with women, when they not in a stable relationship, the business isn't stable, and then when they are happy in the romantic life, the business kind of settles and also feels more stable. So very often that happens too.
How cool. And that's what, no, like everything in our life is a mirror of everything else. Like each aspect of our life is so interconnected that, our business is really just a reflection of us, as a founder, so as to speak. So, Ria, I know you agreed to do a little frequency for us to transmit something for us. So, what if we do something in this area right now for like,
Let's do something for the business, because of
yeah,
course I channel light language, but there is various business upgrades. So what do you think would
exactly.
benefit our listeners and the most? What kind of, like, what does your community need the most when you're looking at, is it visibility, is it courage, is it what is it? Because I can kind of do an energy transmission depending on what's the most
Yeah.
useful.
Let's do something. Let's co-create something with Reiki and light language. So I'll do the Reiki, you do the light language, and how about we do something about our relationship with our business or our relationship with our profession, to make it a bit broader. How does that sound?
Sounds good. Okay, do you want me to guide it?
Please lead the way. I will be sending Reiki throughout this session, and Ria is going to be the voice of the light language frequency.
Okay, so what I would like you to do, when if you're listening or watching it, is to briefly just close your eyes and open your heart. And as you are withdrawing your senses from the world outside and opening up your spiritual senses, I would like you to tune into what is your relationship with your business, and just reflect. What's the situation? Is your energy field inside the business? Is your business's energy field inside of you? Or are you in this happy symbiotic relationship? Is there perhaps some imprints from other significant relationships that are affecting your relationship with your business? And I feel like this energetic transmission is, on one hand side, I think that's what Reiki can do, is to smooth out the frequency, make it smooth so that it's all beautiful, that you're syncing to the frequency field of your business. Whereas what I'm going to do with light language is I'm going to do a cleansing transmission in Syrian light language to clear out any imprints from any past relationships, from perhaps your childhood, your relationships with family members, that perhaps your relationship with your career or business is now reflecting. Anything that doesn't serve you can go. So if you want to receive this frequency, if you wanted to cleanse the relationship between you and your business, just send a telepathic yes. I'm going to start channeling Syrian light codes and Syrian light language.
Beautiful.
Te ama e ke re e te me e te maa e ke a turu e te amare e ta ka e ta ka e ta ka. So from my end, this energetic transmission is now complete.
Beautiful. And just
Take a deep breath in.
Imagine a golden light going through you right now. Oh, it's so beautiful. Just feel it going around in your axis, in your throat, in your chest, in your solar plexus, going down and down. And allow the energy of Reiki to clear out. Ooh. Whatever it is that you've been holding, whatever it is that's been mirroring through your business, through your profession right now. And let's make room for your authentic self-expression, your authentic connection to come through with your business. And give yourself a gentle hug, or just place your hands on your heart to complete this transmission. And I disconnect. Let's come back to this space, opening your eyes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. What a pleasure.
Oh, yeah, I felt that, Riya. That was so cool. Seriously, such a pleasure. Thank you so much for that. Um, it's so beautiful to co-create with other healers and, like mix up our magic together, so as to speak. Um, Cool. So, Ria, our last question to you. After that magical moment, let's get a bit more mystical then. What is your spirit animal and why?
I always feel like it's a big feline, like some black jaguar. I live in the jungle in Costa Rica. It may not look like that today because we've got some strange cold spell. But yeah, I'm absolutely shivering. Houses here are not designed to retain heat; they're designed to get rid of heat. But I am very connected to felines, to lion felines, but also definitely to like black kind of panther jaguar type of animal, and I always felt the presence of lions or the felines of that kind whenever I needed. And this type of animal comes on its own terms. It's not, and it's more than one. So they always come when I need protection, when I need support, and it's been since my spiritual awakening journey began.
Wow, that's beautiful. And that's so cool. You're connected with your spirit animal and they serve you. They make you feel good and special. I love that.
I also have some connection with birds. I always like wear feathers, etc. So
I've
I think
noticed.
that's two different aspects: felines and avians. That's two different Lyran aspects in my starseed
Yeah.
work. There's felines and there's avians, and I've got really good friendships with both.
That's amazing. And I think healers or, well, just intuitive individuals usually have multiple, like, spirit animals who are supporting them, and different ones come in for different kinds of work. So I love that. Thank you so much, Ria. It has been such a pleasure to have you today. I think we've both learned so many new things, and expanded like our collective frequencies, especially through that guided meditation and frequency channeling. Super excited for all of our listeners to receive this, and I will pop all of the details for Ria to connect with her in the caption. So, thank you again, Ria, for joining us today, and I wish you a great day, and I wish all of our listeners an amazing rest of the week.
Thank you so much.